So thank you, Bruce Dern, for coming tonight and
My
sharing your
privilege.
movie with us. So I'm not sure how you first learned about the role, whether Alexander Payne called you or sent you a script. But at any rate, what was your reaction when you first said, oh my gosh?
He sent it to me 10 years ago this week, and the minute I read it, I knew I had to do it. I knew I'd do whatever it took to get in the movie. I was absolutely thrilled, but it wasn't an offer. He just sent me the material and said, what do you think? And the next morning I went to Toys R Us, bought him a little truck, took it to his office right after I bought it with a letter in it, put it on his secretary's desk, and said, make sure he gets this. Don't take this home for your kid. You know, it's for Alexander. And so he got it, and then I never heard. And then Laura called me and said she'd run into Alexander, and he said, I got the most wonderful note from your dad. It was really sweet. Nothing. But 9 months went by, and he started making Sideways. And then another 2 years went by, and he started making The Descendants. So I thought, well, I'm never going to get to play that role, because obviously I'm in the way of getting it done, and I knew he wanted to do it in black and white, and that was going to be a big thing in the way of getting it done. So I just hung in there, and then about 18 months ago he called. I was in Vermont doing a film with an actress you may remember named Geneviève Bujold, who was in a movie called Anne of 1,000 Days when she was 18 and was nominated for an Oscar. It was her and Richard Burton about Anne Boleyn. She played Anne Boleyn. And they called me and said, can you be in Alexander's office Monday or Friday? And I said, yeah, it was Tuesday. So they finished me up 3 days in 1 day. And I went back, and I went in the office, and he gave me the part.
Wow. And what was your reaction?
No matter what happens down the road in this movie, Cannes was wonderful to win that award. Anything else that might come our way, I was thrilled that Alexander gave me the part. That was the biggest win for me, getting the role. Because I've only been in one other movie where I felt an actor or an actress had a role on paper that worked, and that was Charlize Theron in Monster. I mean, people forget, that's not Once a Time, Babe. A woman did that. And she got that and played it enormous. And Patty Jenkins, the writer, she captured that on the paper. So you knew when you read it exactly what it was. And that's what I felt. I felt all the pieces were here, I was the only one cast at that time. But he did ask me that day what I thought about Will Forte, what I thought about June Squibb, and I wasn't familiar with Will, really. I mean, I don't go to movies with guys having celery stick out their butt, to make a living. That was in his movie MacGruber, I think that he did that. But and June, I remembered, had been Jack's wife in About Schmidt. So that's really how I got it. So
you were impressed or proud because of Payne or because of the writing of the role?
I was proud because A, Alexander Payne said to me, come on down. B, the material that he had, even though he didn't write it, he knew it had to be made as a movie and he wanted to direct it. And C, because it gave me an opportunity later in my career to have an at-bat. I knew it was an at-bat. I just didn't know until the first couple days there were 2 out in the bottom of the 9th and we were down a run, it's, there are not a lot of roles for people my age. Not that I'm doddering or anything. My voice is laryngitis. I'm not really that decrepit. But I am, I'm an AARPer, And I have my little card at home. I don't know how to use it, really. I used it once at Costco, and they just said,
Now, Woody Grant, your character, is a curmudgeonly, cantankerous kind of guy. So could you relate?
Well, I've never been asked to do this. I'm always the guy who plays quick people or devilish people or, a-hole people, whatever they are. And I knew I had to slow down. I knew I had to do... It all came down to... Alexander said something to me the first day of the movie. He said, introduced me to Faden and Papa Michael, and he said, do something I'm not sure you've ever done before in your career. Let Faden and I do our jobs to the fullest. I said, meaning? He said, don't ever show us anything. Let us find it. And that's what he did.
Wow.
And it's all through the movie, not just with me. He stays on people's faces. He finds faces. They spend 8 months looking for all those people in bars and then went to those bars to shoot. They never shot the outside. They shot the faces in there and made sure those people were there. They'd cast them 7 months earlier to be there on a certain day. We'd be in that town. And then, and the most magical use of it that I've ever seen in my career. Nobody spends that much. Mr. Kazan used to, and that's where I started. But when my old girlfriend comes out of that store at the end with that face, he stays on her at least 35 seconds because that's once upon a time. And she has that magnificent face, and you just see the whole history enveloped right there. I look at her, and she looks back at me, and then we go on, and the old guy says, so long. It's really good stuff.
And it's all kind of in you, I think. He taps what's in you or your experience, or you wouldn't have that.
The fact that I had the confidence he was going to find the emotion in me by just staying when he needed to made me relax and not try and do more than I'd done in many, many movies. Do too much, try and get too much attention to myself, try and create unique little Dernsy things, and a lot of times they worked, a lot of times they made me very well known and well liked, but they weren't in this movie. They didn't belong in this movie. The movie people were on the page. And then he gives you such wonderful partners. You want to talk about the all-time AARP movie. If you take June Squibb, Mary Louise Wilson, and Angela McEwen, who played the three women in it, together, don't get me in trouble, but together they're 260 years old.
Okay, last question. So there's buzz about your performance, talk of an Oscar nomination. So how does it feel at this point in your life to be in this position?
It always feels wonderful when your peers, the people that you started out with, at the end of the year, everybody makes all-star teams. It's always wonderful if you can make an all-star team, and that would be wonderful to me. But what the ultimate goal was never for me to come here and win awards. It was when I got the Star on the Boulevard with my daughter and my ex-wife 3 years ago. I said the same thing I'll say to you now. What it means to me is a bunch of folks are finally getting together and saying Bruce Dern could play.